So Jamie talked about the economists finding growth at the C-level suite, the Millennials study, and then there's also another study, I've got some quotes from, building the business case. And in that bio of what we were going to cover, there was a whole lot. And one of the last items was mobile. I don't have a slide on mobile, but I think mobile is a non-negotiable. As retailers, you have got to figure out mobile because it is what we all have. We all have our stores and everybody else's stores immediately here or on our phone. So that's my disclosure on mobile. Okay, I actually have retail in my DNA. So my grandfather, both of my grandfathers were retailers. And these are in small towns in Ohio in the United States. Keeners, their slogan was Keeners since 1884. And then the Blair brothers were actually pharmacists, jewelers, and kind of your basic bricolage hardware store. Right now, they had a 1-cent sale going on, which is our modern day equivalent of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So what is consistent for 132 years, it is simply about a product, it's about a promise that you make to the consumer, and it's about building a relationship. So when people talk about e-commerce and isn't all that technology crazy, I look at them and I say, it's not rocket science. I mean, for 20 years that I've been doing it, not that much has changed. So I actually got hooked on retail when I was at university and took a retail management class, and it was one of those classes where the professor's like, oh, so here's how shopping malls are designed, and they're designed to keep you in the loop, and here's how we do stores. And I was like, oh, I like the psychology of retail, the psychology of consumer behavior. Did a brief stint in banking, was fortunate to be the one to get to lead the launch of VictoriaSecret.com in 1998 when I was like 10, before gray hair. Then I spent the last decade doing consulting with a lot of great brands in terms of brand strategy. And then I just have finished a 2-year engagement at Grupo Cortiel where I was brought in to help grow the business and double the business, which we did. And also, I inherited a very derailed e-commerce project, something that was 30 months delayed, and ultimately it went up. Within the first 2 months, 2 of the sites were out for 23 hours on Black Friday. And I was like, okay, this isn't gonna work. So that's when one of Jamie's colleagues, the irony was, I called people in the US who I used to work with. I'm like, hey, I need somebody at Demandware. Okay, well, they sent me to someone who happened to be flying to the UK, who then connected me with someone else. Long story short, after a complete comprehensive due diligence, what was the business in need of? What type of technology resources did we have, or what were we lacking? What was going to be the best product? We picked Demandware, which is now Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And it was something that allowed us basically to take it out of the box, to deploy 5 brands in 25 countries in 5 languages in 12 months. It might have been faster if we didn't take a little pause after the first one, because we went into Black Friday and then all the way through sale. So the development time was a little shorter, but we had to play with our retail calendar. So that's just a bit of the background and grounding for our story. And Jim, there we go. So over the last 19, 20 years, things have stayed pretty much the same. We've always been focused on, and we continue to be focused on, increasing market share, expanding internationally, beyond our own borders, identifying new trends, supporting marketing and advertising through digital, providing product information and pre-shopping, improving the customer service experience and reducing costs, and getting to know our clients better and differentiating ourselves from the competitors. The irony is those points are notes that I took in 1997 at a Forrester conference, when I was still in banking before I actually went into retail. So when I say commerce isn't really rocket science, retailing is not. We are still focused on the exact same challenges. The only thing that's changed is we have new tools and new technology, but we're still chasing this utopia of this perfect experience. So 20 years ago, we were creating 360-degree brands, and that was about completely using every channel to communicate the same brand promise. Then we moved into a decade of multi-channel or omni-channel, which was making sure that you had the same experience on your phone as when you went into the physical store. Okay, some of us are still struggling with that because there are huge burdens of technology and integration with legacy systems. When I joined Grupo Cortiel, I learned they had an AS400. Does anybody else? Oh, there you go, thank you. Okay, we got a couple AS400s, so you know the pain. You have loyalty systems and integrations that are complex. So we're still chasing this, and now we're starting to see this concept of unified commerce. And while technology is enabling unified commerce, it's really the customer that's pushing us. They're demanding it. They have such a better understanding because they know how to do more about your brand or my brand than maybe our shop associates do, because they're connected to us. So we're chasing this utopia. The unified commerce context is really knowing that not just is the experience the same, but all the data is the same. All of the information that you have about me, whether I made an online transaction or I'm in your physical store, you know exactly what dress I bought, so you know how to suggest shoes to me, because you should know that. I, as a customer, expect you. Well, I just got this dress last week. Which dress was it, ma'am? Shouldn't you have the purchase history? So these, as customers, are the expectations that we fight and the hurdles that we are still seeking to overcome. So back then, there was this great phrase or statistic that convenience was simply not enough of a reason for consumers to buy online. If you know the statistics today, it is the #1 reason consumers come to us and buy online. It's the #1 reason for most of us. We're time-starved. We have so many opportunities. With online, it's anytime, anywhere, and in any way I want it. It's a lot easier. It's less stressful, because sometimes going in a store is like walking out onto that floor. There are so many people, and you're like, all I want is help. I can find a broader assortment online than I can by going to the local store in my area. And it's a lot easier to compare products. So, the connected customer. This person is transforming our lives, and it is because they're carrying around product catalogs of ours on their phone. They're carrying around prices on our phone and the competitors' prices. So they're smarter and more intelligent, perhaps, than our sales associate about a particular product category and who has the best. Right now, we see that 50% of shoppers are using multiple devices during their product journey, and they're always connected. There's been a 35% increase in the time people are spending online. So how is this connected customer pushing us and challenging us to transform ourselves? So the journey is complex, and the slide has a lot of animation that Jim's going to click in a minute, we hope. OK, there we go. And about 2 more clicks. There we go. OK, the journey is complex. What do customers demand? The easy things that we all know: consistency of prices. They want things immediately. There are many points of interaction, and they expect it to be on their terms. And they expect mobile connectivity. Automatics, givens. The dark gray will look a little higher at and in more depth. They expect intelligent and informed employees. They expect your people in your physical store to know exactly what happened online. They want them to know, was there a Facebook promotion for something? Was there a shoppable pin? And if that shoppable pin is for this dress, hey, I saw a dress on Pinterest. Can you help me find it? If you're the shop associate and you don't know what's on Pinterest, you can't help me. And it makes you look bad. And so we as retailers haven't given you the level of support you need to be a successful shop associate, but we need to figure out how to connect that. And so the drive is our customers are moving so much faster than we can that we have to play catch up in order to be as intelligent and articulate as they expect and anticipate of us. We also look at, they want delivery and connection on your terms, and we'll look at that in a minute. They want a single view of me and of the brand that you're representing. They also want personalized experiences. So they have very high expectations. Things that we used to think were luxuries, like Wi-Fi in store and beacons, why were we doing that? No one could really give us, what's the business case for it? Well, if your customer, we've sent them an e-receipt, and they come in to make a return, but yet they can't get Wi-Fi, and maybe they're a millennial and they're over their data plan. They need to be able to log on to find that receipt to make a transaction with you. So these things that we used to say were luxuries, making devices enabled for employees is no longer a luxury. It's an automatic, because the customer has it, so the shop associate has to have it as well. So for those of you who are outside of the UK, I have to admit I have a little bit of a crush. I don't know whether it's because the Brits are very proper and very linear. You guys do delivery and logistics really, really well. Every time I get off of a plane or a train, I find a doodle, or I saw the order online pick up. That idea of making these relay points such a fantastic and easily branded experience for the customer is fantastic. However, those of us the American retailers, the rest of Europe. I live in Spain. I lived in France before that. I travel a lot. When you go to order something, you might be sending it, the relay point might be a bodega or a canteen or a shoe repair and key maker in France. So you walk in, and there's this cluttered shelf of 50, 100, 200 packages from a bunch of different carriers. What happens is the associate there is like, I don't know where it is. Let me look for it. Up on the right, I actually ordered from an Italian retailer recently and had it sent to a relay or a collection point in Spain. I arrived, and there were all these packages strewn about his store. And I said, here's my receipt number. It didn't register with the type of data he had available. He didn't have a way to track and find my package. I happen to know what this retailer's branding looks like, and so I'm like, it's over there, it's that one, it's that white box. But the white box said shipped to Imagine On. Didn't have my name, so I'm showing him my Spanish ID card, but this package doesn't have my name on it. The guy actually had to open the box, pull out, find a receipt, match it up with my ID. Now think about it if it was your client, and it wasn't my package, but it was somebody else's. How do you explain to the customer who the package was intended for that, I'm sorry, we had to open that package because we didn't know it was yours? There are lots of things that within the UK you get to take for granted because you've figured it out and done it really well. When we think about going outside, so I have Portugal, Spain, France, all the great EU places, all the great EU and the UK. Just had to say that. I was trying not to use the B word. With that in mind, for me, all the zip codes, all the countries that we ship to have different country code formats. Some of them need to have portero or doorman codes. Do you have those in your back offices? These are things we couldn't figure out why we weren't selling as well in Portugal when it was our second strongest physical store market. Nobody had actually gone to Portugal to figure out why. So I took a couple people who worked on my team, and we went over and we're like, okay, tell us about this. Well, there's this really funny thing called multi-banco. Does anybody sell in Portugal? Okay, great market, beautiful place to visit. Here's the little nugget. You have to do something called multi-banco. So the people in Portugal are a little hesitant to buy online and give you their credit card information. Therefore, they create a transaction with multi-banco, and then I have to physically go to the ATM machine, punch in my receipt number, make multi-banco pay the retailer gets a confirmation, and then the package can be sent and the order can be sent out to the customer. So when we leave our own little nest of our country and how we know how to do business, it becomes much more complicated. And these complexities include finding multiple shippers, which one can you get the best negotiated rates. There are awesome companies that will aggregate for us, but you have to decide which hurdle do you have to overcome. Portugal is also an interesting country where their tax ID number should be on every single receipt. I bought a cup of coffee. I'd like to claim that on my taxes. So in your physical store and your online, you have to account for that. So these are some of the things that the customer expects that we have to catch up with. So this delivery is incredibly important. As you think about, or as you move outside of your utopia, the UK, it becomes much more complex. A single view of me, the customer. So these are 3 brands. Hopefully you know most of them. Nespresso for sure. I think it's an awesome brand. I love what they do. However, they don't know me. I'm Anne-Marie with my USA customer number, and it's like 15 digits. And then I moved to France. Oh, no, ma'am, you can't use that number. You'll have to have a new ID. Then I moved to Spain, and I was like, well, at least it's all within the EU, so surely the privacy policies, and they can figure this out. No, I have 3. So I am a fantastic customer who's bought multiple machines. I buy a ton of capsules, but they only know me by my country-based behavior. And so in my iPhone, I have to have 3 different digits of what is my customer number by country. So my expectation as a consumer, know me as one person. How hard is that to do as a business? It's quite difficult for us because we have these old legacy systems and loyalty programs we have to integrate. Cause is another retailer, at least the women in the room probably know. It's from H&M. It's a bit more of their premium brand. I was headed on a business trip and needed to pick up a pair of pants. They didn't have the size I wanted, so I asked the associate, can you look online for me? Yeah, we can't do that from the store. Okay, because I really wanted her to order them and have them sent to where I was going. I said, well, could you at least find out if they're available at the store in Copenhagen? I know you have 3 stores because I'm standing in her store using my iPhone to find out where her stores are. No, ma'am, I can't do that. So as a customer, not because I work in e-commerce, as a customer, I knew what I needed and I knew how to figure out solving my problem. So I had to call the store in Copenhagen, call the hotel I was staying at, how far is it, can you go send a courier? I, the customer, had to solve that. This unified experience, we have to solve that quickly because our customers won't have the patience to wait. And your comment about Amazon, they're the ones who can speed that up. Vineyard Vines is a bit of a retail crush. It's an American-based retailer. They seamlessly know everything about me. No matter what point I'm shopping, whether I saw an ad in Pinterest or whether it's popping up in Facebook, whether I made a physical store purchase or an online purchase, when you go into store, we're good to go on that. Next slide. Okay, so what's the reality check? So our CEOs, investments, and my favorite, it cannot be. So when Jamie talked about that study, 26% of CEOs and C-level executives, only 26% that they needed more tech-savvy employees. Only 14% thought there was a need for rise in e-commerce capabilities. In my real life, that either scares me that we're that far behind, or that leaders are that out of touch with where we need to make capital expenditure investments. The tech-savvy employee, what you see here was yesterday. I landed at Heathrow. How do I get to this hotel? The guy pulls out his iPad that he's been given by his employer. I don't have Wi-Fi. Hey, can you use your personal phone to help this client? So if we don't figure out as retailers, we have a huge hang-up about letting employees use their personal phone to do work business. If we don't do that, the customer's going to walk out the door because this guy, he was smart enough to do it. The tech-savvy employees, many of your brands don't allow for 20-somethings who were basically born with digital device and digital knowledge and connectivity. So what happens, you have a brand that needs a slightly different consumer to sell to the consumer, but that person doesn't know how to use the basic internet technology. I was sitting in the office on a Friday afternoon and somebody answered the phone, and one of the girls on my team is explaining to an employee how to get to the browser to make a click shopping purchase, to enable that customer to get the shirt that you're wearing that we didn't have in your size. So this to me is super scary. We need to increase that. We need to have these devices and the investments. The it cannot be is sometimes CEOs don't necessarily understand our world. So when I told my CEO that the iPhone was the #1 device, 33% of our online transactions came in that way, and she, very intelligent person, but very analytical. Well, that's impossible. iPhone sales penetration in Spain are very low, Anne-Marie. It's a very expensive product, and this is a very poor, low-level economy. I said, well, here's the data. These are the customers. So daily, you have to find the ways to navigate and negotiate and put forth what you need. So we talk about how quickly does the store environment, what are the changes we have to make? I think about a 1,500 square foot store, these formats that were designed many years ago. We want to do click and collect. This is what the back office looks like. There's no room to have neatly organized packages waiting for the customer. I mean, that Tienda relay point was a really bad experience, but this is what they're dealing with. There's no place behind the cash wrap. When I arrived, we did store delivery, and all of a sudden, somebody went into the store, and I'm like, why are all these packages here? There were up to 3 years' worth of packages sitting behind cabinets in the back because there was no immediate notification to the customer. There was no tracking that someone had thought to build in. They thought if the customer wanted to have it sent to the store, the customer will just go pick it up. Well, 3 years later, who knows whether the customers were still alive, whether they were still living in this country. We have to think as we're pushing so fast to make things enabled for the customer, what is the reality? Is the physical store designed for it? Do we have the tracking, the devices for it? What are the notifications and order history? So we'll breeze very quickly through the millennials because I think we're close on time, sorry. I still like to go shopping. Many years ago, people have been saying the retail store is dying. It's not. Millennials, 96% of them still visit high street shops. #1 reason? To test and try on the item, 58%. They want to touch it and feel it. They're looking for ideas and inspiration. They want instant access. They aren't willing to wait. And it's a social element. The millennials are also very social. So the traffic that's coming from social, Jamie alluded to the fact that TV viewership is on the decline. One of the most valuable sources is coming from social, and Facebook still is #1. We had a couple social boards, and within 8 months of putting it up on one of the smaller brands, we had $500,000 coming in from socially inspired purchases. Revenue was projected to be $30 billion. So our associates in customer service, what do they need to know? They need to know what we're putting out on social. So when that client comes in to have an experience, they look intelligent and they can deliver on that promise and get the sale that we're looking for them to have. Millennials are more and more about going incognito. They don't want to tell Big Boss anything. Only 55% are declining cookies. They're only 30% allowed apps to have geolocation, and that's even lower in France. So what does this mean as we think about tracking between multiple devices, as we want to know about basket recovery and how to make sure that you do buy that? It causes huge problems, and we have to figure out what are the most attractive ways, and we think about how I want you to register for my account. I'm thinking about what are the most sexy benefits I can give you to get you to go ahead and make that sign-in as soon as you arrive if you're not going to take my cookies. And peers are so much more important than celebrities. So this is from Olopic from myspringfield.com. It's more important what my friends are saying or what other people are doing, and I'm looking at that. Even more important for health and beauty and electronics, as you can assume. 56% of millennials cite online reviews as the most powerful reason they're buying right now. It's interesting with fashion, the idea of reviews, this turns really quickly. If we're either a fast fashion retailer or even a luxury retailer, this change of season. So the review isn't as important in our category. I want to be inspired. I want you to make product recommendations. There's this new little guy, Einstein. So within the Salesforce Dream Cloud, former Demandware, there's this awesome predictive intelligence. So I start clicking, and we used to think this was a utopia, this idea of predictive intelligence. I've looked at 3 different pictures. Automatically, Einstein is saying, oh, these are the 3 best blouses for Anne-Marie, because we know what she's looked at. We know which product category she came from prior to that. I'm easily distracted. I like to chase pretty butterflies. Surprisingly, only 8 times during a 12-month cycle did these millennials report abandoning a cart. I don't know about you, but I abandon probably 8 a month. Those customers who are daily shoppers and weekly shopper, the statistic was much higher at 80% of them. So this makes things like basket recovery. V-Interactive is a plugin, so that's the one I like. It's like candy to me. You can log in and you can go, oh, we sent out this many emails, this many baskets were recovered. We recovered this much money. It's kind of addictive. There you go, almost on time. Sorry.